Norway 2, Ivory Coast 1. Erling Haaland tapped in the winner in the 86th minute. But this wasn't just another round of 32 result. This was Norway's first ever World Cup knockout win. On a stage they'd waited 28 years to return to. And when the final whistle went, the players sat down on the grass and started to row. Tonight's story is about one goal and a nation that rose. First, the goals. We'll keep this part short. 39th minute, Antonio Nusa. Against the run of play, Odegaard slipped him the ball on the left. Nusa cut inside past Pepe and curled a beauty into the top corner. 1-0. That assist made Odegaard the first player with assists in 3 straight World Cup matches since Dirk Kuyt in 2010. 74th minute, Amad Diallo pulls one back for Ivory Coast. Having just cleared a Norway chance off his own line, the Manchester United winger played a give-and-go with Pepe. He weaved through and lashed a left-footed finish past Nyland. 1-1. 86th minute, Holland. Substitute Oscar Bob threaded it to Patrick Berg, driving into the box. 3 defenders converged on Berg, and he squared it to a completely unmarked Holland, who poked it home. 2-1. Here's the twist, Ivory Coast were the braver side. They outshot Norway 14-9, and threw everything at it late. Diallo rattled the woodwork and forced a crucial stoppage time save from Orjan Nyland, his 4th of the night. But Norway's chances were sharper, an expected goals edge of roughly 2.1. And Holland had been almost invisible, just 27 touches all game. The fewest of any Norway starter who played the full 90. That's the point, though, when you've got the world's best striker, 1 touch is enough. So why is this one history? Norway are back at a World Cup for the first time since 1998, a 28-year wait. And they had never won a knockout match at a World Cup before tonight. They reached this stage in 38 and again in 98, and lost both times. On the pitch afterward, Holland put it in 5 words. This is unbelievable, this is history. And the fixture gods have a sense of humor, because next up is Brazil. 28 years ago, Norway beat the reigning champions 2-1 in the 98 group finale. Scoring in the 83rd and 89th minutes, in what many still call the greatest result in Norwegian football history. That ghost is waiting in the round of 16. Now, Holland's night. Few touches, big numbers. With that tap-in, he has now scored in each of Norway's 3 games at this tournament. 5 goals in total. He's the 3rd player in World Cup history to score in each of his first 3 tournament matches. It was his 60th international goal, a Norway record, reached in just 53 caps. And he's now scored in 13 straight competitive internationals, 25 goals across that run. He sits on 5 for the tournament, 1 behind Messi's 6 in the Golden Boot race. And here's the story of the game. Ivory Coast pushed, pressed, outshot Norway, and still lost. Because they didn't have the one man who turns half a chance into a goal. Sky Sports summed it up. This was a game that proved the importance of having an elite-level striker. If only they had Holland in their team to finish all those chances. Now, the real star of the night, not the goal, the celebration. After the whistle, Holland pulled on a horned Viking helmet. He sat down on the turf with his teammates, and in perfect sync with a wall of red-clad supporters, started to row. This is the Viking Row. It starts with a Norse horn. Everyone sits in the shape of a longboat. A drum begins slowly and speeds up. The fans pull their arms back in unison, chanting row, Norwegian for row. And it builds to one enormous, rising roar. The symbolism: 1,000 years ago, Vikings pulled in their sails and rowed their longships together before battle. Players and fans, moving as one, fighting as one crew. And here's the wild part: this chant is less than a year old. It was invented in 2025 by a Norwegian superfan named Ole Frøystad. He'd built a whole notepad of chants for Norway's World Cup return, and the Viking Row was his crown jewel. I talked to them through all of them, but I'm like, this one is, like, the one. I wanted it to be short, I wanted it to be easy, I wanted it to be hard, I wanted to have culture in it. It wasn't an instant hit. On its debut, in a March friendly against Switzerland, the reviews were rough. It worked out okay, it got some critiques that it looked silly. So the supporters group made how-to videos. Hands forward, bend forward. They got them on local news, and drilled the form. Then the World Cup happened, and it exploded. Fans rowing up an escalator in Boston. Thousands rowing in the middle of Times Square, drowning out a yoga class. On New York subways, in the streets of Oslo, on public transport. Even Norway's parliament, where lawmakers put down the gavel and grabbed imaginary oars. And at the PGA Travelers Championship, rowers follow the Norwegian golfers. Victor Hovland, buoyed by it, went on to beat Scotty Scheffler in a playoff. Norway's parliamentary president captured the scale of it. After 28 years, we are finally in the World Cup, and the team is really delivering. We are a country of just 5.6 million people. This is a huge thing for the nation. Even the roles are set. Captain Martin Odegaard usually beats the team's drum. And it was Holland who first pushed for the squad to bring the fans' chant onto the pitch. Iceland's thunderclap owned Euro 2016. This World Cup belongs to the Row. A quick word from the manager. Norway boss Solbakken, on surviving the wobble after the equaliser. After their equaliser, it was easy to panic. But we got our players in the right position and managed to play our game again. And let's keep this honest. This was less a complete Norwegian performance than a Holland masterclass in efficiency. Ivory Coast, at their first ever World Cup knockout appearance, deserve real credit. So how did the internet react? Quick note, these next lines are a dramatized composite of the online mood. 1 neutral, 27 touches and he scores the winner. That's just what Holland is. 1 Norway fan, forget the goal. The row after the whistle had me in tears. 28 years. 1 Ivory Coast fan, we were the better team and we're out. 1 man, that's the difference. 1 meme account, Norway's parliament is rowing, and I'm just sitting here. And 1 Brazil fan, please, not a 98 rerun. Also, okay, that celebration is kind of amazing. So, what's next? Brazil, July 5th, in New Jersey. The echo of 98, plus a juicy subplot. Holland versus his Premier League nemesis, Arsenal's Gabriel Magalhaes. Layers on layers. So, 3 things Norway leave Dallas with tonight. 1. The first World Cup knockout win in their history. 2. Holland writing history on 27 touches, that finisher's instinct. And 3. The image that'll outlast the goal. A striker in a horned helmet, rowing with an entire nation behind him. The Viking ship now points at Brazil. And if Norway win, the row only gets louder.